Look in my eyes, what do you see? Seth Rollins is the referee. I think if you sing it badly, you won't get a copyright strike. Is that how this works? I don't know. Anyways, these are my assorted thoughts on the July 22nd, 2024 WWE RAW. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, prediction videos like my SummerSlam prediction video coming up next week, reviews of WWE premium live events, wrestling opinion pieces, and of course, assorted thoughts on SmackDown and Raw. Now, I'm recording this in the early evening on July the 26th, the Friday, just before SmackDown. So yeah, it's a bit late. The reason it's a bit late is because last weekend, I went to TNA Slammiversary. I'm going to throw a video on that one into the mix. I don't normally watch TNA, let alone review it, but it was in my hometown, like about 15 minutes from where I live. So yeah, that's coming up soon. But let's get into this Raw. Now, on the previous video, I had hoped publicly that the Drew McIntyre CM Punk situation wouldn't turn into a triple threat match with Seth Rollins. I thought the only reason I'd be okay with that would be if for some reason Punk was not really ready to come back in a full one-on-one match. Well, it didn't turn into a triple threat. After establishing that McIntyre was in fact backstage, Punk came out at the 9 o'clock hour to a huge crowd pop. He did his usual, it's great to be alive on a Monday night, in this time in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he called out Drew right away. Drew came out, told Punk he didn't want to face him now, taunted him. Punk went for him. Then Adam Pearce showed up to stop the fighting. For a moment, that is, he of course announced that they're going to have a match at SummerSlam. And I love how the fact that Drew was still sort of egging Punk on to try and fight through the security. He said, come on, fight through, because he knew that Pearce was about to say that if either one touched the other, the match would be done and that person would be suspended indefinitely. And then he said he had a big problem, a big referee problem. Just as he was getting the word referee out, Seth Rollins' music hit. Seth Rollins came out in a atypical referee outfit. I don't know. I'm wondering what he's actually going to wear as a referee. And he announced that, yes, he is going to be the special guest referee for Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. And honestly, this is perfect. They're not, as I feared they would do, waste two amazing singles matches / feuds by merging Punk and Drew and Punk and Rollins into one match. But they are giving Drew, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins all something to do at SummerSlam in a major angle by having Seth as the referee. I'm waiting for these referee instructions. It's probably going to be great. Obviously, Seth is going to get involved, but this feud is going to play out and it's going to lead into the next one, or maybe even another Seth and Drew feud. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I honestly don't know who's going to win at SummerSlam or what's going to happen. I have some ideas and I'm going to make a prediction video next week, but yeah. I think this is amazing booking, and I'm very happy they didn't go the triple threat route, but they didn't exclude Rollins. Also, they're going this route. Good job, Triple H. There won't be a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. I wouldn't have minded if there was, but of course we had a really good match for a bit between Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov to be the number one contender. I thought somehow it was going to be like a double count out or something like that. It almost looked like they were going that route, but then Braun knocked Ilya out and won via referee stoppage. Now, that's a pretty definitive victory, if you ask me. In fact, if you ask anyone, it's a very definitive victory. So we're not going to have a triple threat match. I was hoping for one because I was thinking Braun might end up winning the championship, but if he pinned Ilya, then Sami wouldn't get pinned. Long story. Anyways, I haven't really made my prediction video yet, but I think I'm still going to stick with Sami. But if he does lose, I think on this episode of Raw, they set up a very interesting, different stage of Sami's story for the next part of the year. It started when the Judgment Day attacked Jey Uso backstage, and Sami Zayn came to help out. Yes, this is the Judgment Day minus Damian Priest, who's been kicked out of the building along with Gunther. More on that later. Also, this is part of the ongoing Judgment Day storyline with Liv Morgan. And yes, I am going to talk about Liv later. I know what people are maybe clicking on this video for. So this, though, we're going to focus on what happened. Sami defended Jey Uso, and because of that, there was a main event set up. Sami and Jey versus the tag team champions, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Jey and Sami had an amazing entrance to the ring. The match itself was solid. Judgment Day did get some stuff in, but so did Sammy. So did Jay. There were warranted "This is awesome" chants. And eventually Jay got the pin after the Uso splash. During the celebration, Braun Breaker came back, speared Sammy, further setting up SummerSlam, and left before Jey Uso could do anything. Now, despite that ending, I think the really important thing that happened is the fact that Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, as a team, defeated the World Tag Team Champions in a non-title match. So if Sami loses the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam, still hope he doesn't, or even if he doesn't, but definitely if he does, I think the next thing you're going to set up is Jay and Sami challenging and winning as the number one contenders and winning the World Tag Team titles and holding them for at least a bit. I mean, since Jay's been a single star, he's already won a tag title with Cody Rhodes, and now he'd be doing it with his buddy Sami Zayn. It would give both of them something to do for a little bit before they go back to just maybe hopefully getting singles championships again, or Jay getting his first singles championship. But also, it potentially moves them together and potentially moves them back into the Bloodline storyline if Roman Reigns maybe apologizes, brings them in on the good Bloodline faction versus Solo Sikoa's Bloodline 2.0. Anyways, I think that might happen whether Sami loses or not, but definitely if he loses at SummerSlam. And I find that very interesting. And even though it was set up for SummerSlam, I think that was an overlooked thing that they did at the end of the show. It wasn't just a random match. It was definitely a "this is awesome" match, but it wasn't a random nostalgic match, as you might think. I think it was there for a purpose. I'm glad they haven't dropped the Otis and Alpha Academy versus Chad Gable and the Creeds angle, or moreover, that they're actually bringing Otis and the Alphas into the angle with Gable and the Creeds. They're in an angle with Gable, but the Creeds really started off with the Wyatt Six. We got Otis finally attacking Gable, not just walking away. Then he had the Creeds attack him. They were going to beat them up, but then spooky music. Here come the Wyatts. And Uncle Howdy came up behind and hit the Sister Abigail on Chad Gable. I kind of got a little chuckle when Michael Cole said that Uncle Howdy was getting revenge for what happened to Bo Dallas last week. Obviously, it's acknowledged that Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy, but I appreciate the way that he brought the bit of kayfabe back in and separated those characters when he really didn't have to. And yes, this whole thing with the Creeds and Gable and the Wyatt family is going to play out. But I think they hinted, and I hope that they're going to follow through, that they're going to go back with the storyline of Otis and company fighting Gable and the Creeds, which is, I think, what they were setting up for before the Wyatt Six arrived and needed an opponent and randomly got Gable. Gunther kicked off the show, pretended he was going to apologize for what he said last week, and then absolutely refused to, saying he meant every word of it to antagonize the crowd. He called out Damian Priest. Priest attacked him right away, went into the physical stuff. Officials cleared the ring, and then they come back from break. They fight again. They fight out of the building, and they get barred from the building by Adam Pearce for the rest of the night. And I think this was the absolute right way to follow up what happened last week and to set up for SummerSlam. Last week was the talking with Priest, talking about his story that makes him sound like a babyface fighting his way up from the streets, and Gunther was just dismissive and an elitist snob. We got Gunther reinforcing that, being the heel, reinforcing the fact that Priest was the babyface, and rather than potentially wreck it or not, or add more layers to this, Priest didn't even talk. He just went right into the fighting, and then they got them both out of the building so that Priest wouldn't be part of all the Judgment Day stuff that happened backstage for the rest of the night. He's solidly just in the Gunther program now, or at least he was for this week, and I think that's really good. And speaking of the Judgment Day stuff, see, I told you we were going to get to Rhea, Liv, and Dom. Yeah, we're here now. Okay. We had the scene in the clubhouse with Rhea Ripley basically laying down the law. Of course, that law is broken. And Balor, I'm sure it's Balor setting this all up. Basically, he probably even set up the encounter between Dom and Liv. But yeah, they go off to try and find Jey Uso, and Dominik has an encounter with Liv. Rhea's really pissed about this, but then she's even more pissed when she found out that Dom spoke to Liv. So we get Rhea Ripley pushing Dominik Mysterio to the ring. She calls out Liv Morgan, who taunts her from the crowd. This is where Liv, now obviously this is not the shot you've seen. This is where you have the sort of jeans shot from the back, so to speak. You probably saw it online. A very quote-unquote sexy shot. Well, not quote-unquote, it was. But this is where Liv delivers the promo that gorgeous men like Dominik Mysterio aren't interested in girls who look like you. Gorgeous men like Dominik Mysterio are interested in girls who look like me, which of course gives Liv major heat, probably with a lot of the crowd, and gets Rhea really angry to the point where Dominik Mysterio tries to stop her from going after Liv. And then he cuts a promo on Liv himself. Dom told Liv in English that he hates her, that she ruined his life, and to get away from him. But of course, he also spoke in Spanish. According to the Nexus guy on YouTube, what Dom said in Spanish was, quote, "Do you understand what I'm telling you? B word. I can't understand what goes on in your head. Are you a dumbass or what? I hate you with all my life." Of course, this made Liv very sad. She cried walking away. It made Rhea Ripley very happy. And among other things, she licked Dominik Mysterio on the face, prompting Pat McAfee to mutter, "She just licked him." Michael Cole said, "Yes, she did." Okay, this was definitely a wild segment. Definitely something people will be talking about for a while. I was wondering if they're actually going to turn Dominik Mysterio babyface. I think for now, maybe they are. Although they were kind of like giving him hell for making Liv sad, even though Liv is the one instigating this. But maybe, just maybe, this is all a setup, and he's going to turn heel and help out Liv in the match. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I also wouldn't be surprised after this performance tonight that he stays by Rhea's side. This is definitely one of the most interesting storylines they have going in WWE right now. And so is the Punk Drew one with Seth, and even a bit the Priest and Gunther one, and it's all on the same show. These were my assorted thoughts on the July 22nd, 2024 WWE RAW. Do you agree with my take? Do you agree with some of it, or all of it, or none of it? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Wrestling on X, at Silo Voice Wrestling on Instagram and Facebook, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Yes, the Facebook and the Instagram handles have changed. The Facebook page has been launched, but there's nothing on there as of the time I'm recording this. And the Instagram page, I haven't somehow gotten approved for that new name. So if you can't find it there, go to at SVS Reviews, which is had the wrestling content, but is going to have a different type of content like the Star Wars, the Star Trek franchise stuff. I'm sort of separating the two pages. Anyways, also please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I'll be back with assorted thoughts on SmackDown, that review of Slammiversary that I promised, also an opinion video, and of course next week we got the SummerSlam predictions, all that good stuff coming. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.